I do not envy White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders' job one bit. In fact, I'd rather burn off both my eyebrows with a blowtorch than take daily questions from this straggly horde of rabid, agenda-driven fake news reporters. No clue how she does it every day, but she gets up there and acts professionally and politely. But that doesn't mean she's the one to pass up an opportunity to jab back occasionally. Those are my favorite moments. So here are some of Mrs. Sanders' most epic smackdowns from on and off the podium.
I profess my ignorance in this, but next week when he goes for his
You
dumb
said it,
smile,
yeah.
So
I mean, if you want to call yourself ignorant,
I am.
I'm
but
not going to argue.
Goes,
Oof, burn. He really just walked straight into that one like a Playboy bunny, get it? Into a trap. That was Brian Karem asking the question. He's the Playboy magazine's White House correspondent, writing for both of the people who read the magazine for its White House coverage. This wasn't his first or last skirmish with Sanders. Brian usually gets to the briefings super early so he can make sure to get right up in front in a spot on the south side of the room because that's where all the cameras face. He constantly shouts and interrupts Sarah even when he isn't called on. Who would have thought that a man who writes for a porno mag doesn't respect women? He usually gets put in his place though, like this, watch.
News outlets get to go on day after day and cite unnamed sources, use stories without sources, have, you mentioned the Scaramucci story where they had to have reporters resign.
Come on, you're inflaming everybody right here and right now with those words. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
Well, I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the news media. And I think it is outrageous for you to accuse me of inflaming a story when I was simply trying to respond to his question.
That was right after Sanders got a question from Breitbart's Charlie Spearing, who asked about CNN's firing of 3 employees for spreading fake news. And Vox magazine actually called him the heroic, yes, heroic, Playboy reporter for defending CNN's honor. Honor? As the kids would say these days, LMFAO. Really? Reporting factually wrong stories? That's honorable? That should tell you everything you need to know about this group of clowns, which brings me to another fake news hustler, my favorite, Gal Sharpton. Gal Sharpton can often be seen at the White House press briefing room asking deep and insightful questions like, is the president a racist? And does the president think slavery is wrong? Here she is asking about the sexual innuendo she perceived in a tweet the president sent about the shrill and insufferable Kirsten Gillibrand, or Kirsten Gillibrand. I don't really know how you say it and don't really care.
Gillibrand owed an apology for the misunderstanding of the president's tweet this morning because many, including the senator, thinks that it's about sexual innuendos.
I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way. And so no.
Yikes. Not only are these people's minds in the gutters, by the way, but their souls are in the gutter too. They are so eager to take down this administration that even when the press secretary makes a pie for her family on Thanksgiving, they call her a liar and say she didn't make it herself. When Sarah Sanders tweeted a picture of a pie she made on Thanksgiving Day, Gal Sharpton clapped back, or clap black, as she likes to say, her words, not mine, and said she refused to believe it unless Sarah showed it to us on a table. So not only did Sarah Sanders show pictures of it on the table, but she went above and beyond and actually baked pies for the press corps. And she showed pictures of her making it in real time. Here is the White House press corps having the pie that Mrs. Sanders baked for them. Stop and think about all of this for a minute. They accused her of being a liar, and she baked a pie for them and served it to them with a smile. Now, despite being cosmopolitan and progressive and woke, of course, they're all so woke, the White House press corps has zero sense of humor. So when the press secretary makes a joke, it's completely lost on them, and they're like, huh, humor? Why? What is humor? Is that a Russian word?
How does the president expect his Secretary of State to be effective when he's questioning his intelligence?
Again, he wasn't questioning the Secretary of State's intelligence. He made
he
made a joke. Maybe you guys should get a sense of humor and try it sometime. But he simply made a joke. He's been extremely clear time and time again, despite the fact that you guys want to continue to bring this up and create a story.
I like when Sanders hit Senator Jeff Flake for comparing Trump to murderous dictator Stalin.
I found it quite interesting that he is coming out to attack this president, considering he's one that was recently defending an actually oppressive regime. He went to Cuba a few weeks ago and served as a mouthpiece for the oppressive Cuban government. He's not criticizing the president because he's against oppression. He's criticizing the president because he has terrible poll numbers. And he is, I think, looking for some attention.
Aw, poor Jeffy. Wasn't even at the press briefing, still got smacked down. Sometimes Sarah Sanders wins not with snarky smackdowns, but just by being frank. And here's an example of that when she reminded the press corps that the American people don't really give a rat's rear end about the fake news gossip stories made up by the media. They care about the things that actually affect them at home.
If you look at the issues and poll after poll after poll taken by a number of the outlets in this room and pushed out regularly, the issues that are top mind, number one every single time: the economy, jobs, national security, immigration, healthcare. Yet we never talk about those issues. In fact, 90% of the coverage that is happened, hold on, I'll let you finish. I'm going to finish this statement. 90% of the coverage that comes out of the media is negative and rarely covers those topics. And those are the things that the American people want to talk about. If Congress wants to investigate something, I think that they should look at some of the priorities of the people that they actually represent.
Yeah, don't you know, Sarah? The media doesn't care about them. They care about themselves and their own ratings. Jim Acosta proved that when he seemed upset the president watched Fox and Friends instead of whatever horse crap runs on the fake news network at the butt crack of dawn.
Seems to be a pattern, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there is no pattern, where the president watches something on Fox and Friends and then he tweets about it. Apparently this morning, one of their personalities, Andrew Napolitano, said that this is not a good deal, Mr. President, don't do this. And then he went on Twitter and tweeted about the FISA program. There have been folks out there who have said, you know, there's a cause and effect. He watches something on Fox and Friends and then he tweets about it. Is that what happened this morning, and does that go on?
I'm sure you're disappointed he's not watching CNN.
I think you watch a lot of CNN, if you don't mind me saying.
I don't think that's true. Your numbers would be higher.
Jim Acosta, could you please stop making a fool out of yourself in the press briefing room? It's making me uncomfortable. And finally, Sarah Sanders had a mic drop moment when one reporter asked her if the president would be reading the new book they've all been reading for therapy.
Will the president be reading Hillary Clinton's book? And what does he think about the excerpts that have gotten out so far?
Whether or not he's going to read Hillary Clinton's book, I am not sure, but I would think that he's pretty well versed on what happened, and I think it's pretty clear to all of America. I think it's sad that after Hillary Clinton ran one of the most negative campaigns in history and lost, and the last chapter of her public life is going to be now defined by propping up book sales with false and reckless attacks.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you handle the fake news media.